Oi, oi, Spurs fans. I'm Mick. Welcome to the Tottenham Tirade. Hope everyone's still riding some positive energy from the big win at Ipswich on the weekend. And we got a big game coming up. A huge game. Manchester City. It's an interesting position coming into this game. I think Manchester City riding a bit of up and down form. And Tottenham finding a little bit of form all of a sudden. Something we've all been looking for quite a while now, and it's good to see us finding some form. Hopefully it's true form and we're not getting false positives as we've seen in the past. City's form, they've had recent losses. Liverpool, they lost to Madrid twice. They lost to Arsenal 5-1 recently. Obviously all tough opponents across those losses. In that time, they've also had wins against Leyton Orient in the Cup. They also had a huge 4-0 win over Newcastle, where they really made Newcastle look like relegation fodder in that game. Mamouche, hat-trick. He looked unbelievable. I watched that whole game and it was a stunning performance by City. I thought, here we go, City are back. But then obviously they've stuttered a little bit since then. Hopefully we can continue those stutters going for them because I want our form to continue personally. Tottenham's form, obviously, as I said, 3 wins on the bounce in the league. You can't just gloss over the fact that there was also those 2 cup losses or the 2 cup exits in between the first 2 of those. But we're a chance to keep pushing those further into the past, and if we can grab a result, especially a win against City in this game, we really do a lot of work in proving that the form's not fake, it's not a false positive, and that we're slowly starting to find our feet again. I think it's a huge opportunity for us, to be honest. I'm really excited. I'm buzzing. I'm also nervous. I think City will be looking to correct their form. They won't be happy with how they've been going. There's some big selection choices on both teams coming into this game. Obviously, the big one for City is Haaland. He's missed the last 2 games. I think he was on the bench against Madrid and completely missed the Liverpool game with a knee injury. I listened to Pep talk about him last night, and he said that he's unsure and will be awaiting news after training to see whether he's fit to play. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the game that he comes back, but if he's feeling rusty and underdone and his knee's a bit sore, maybe Danso will clatter into him a couple of times and test him out. But yeah, we got to deal with whoever we face up against, and if that's City with Haaland or that's City without Haaland, they're a dangerous prospect either way. Foden started up front for them against Liverpool. He's probably a little bit light on starting up front for me. I think he does his better work a little bit further back down the pitch. Obviously still a great attacker, but I don't know if he's an out-and-out striker. Definitely not in the same mould that Haaland is. And against Madrid, they started Mamouche and Savio against Madrid. Mamouche worries me a lot. He looks talented. I know Mito had been trying to tell Tottenham, sign this guy. He's elite. Unfortunately, we didn't sign him and City signed him. But if we can shut down some of their attacking options, we go a long way to winning this game. If we can't shut down their attacking options, then we're in trouble. We're going to have to be defensively sound this game. And also, the fact that City like to attack, I think that provides us some options in our attack. I think we have just as much ability to score. Well, we have plenty of ability to score. I won't say that we're Manchester City's quality all across the park, but we've shown this season that we can match it against them and beat them. So I think we're really in with a chance for that. Tottenham, I mean, we've got selection decisions to make all across the park, and Ange has got some big decisions to make. There's only a few probably guaranteed lock-ins across the team. And depending on what he does as far as who's fit, who needs a rest, whether he's going to look at giving any players some time on the bench that they might need. We do have a little bit of a gap before our next game against AZ. So it'll be interesting. I think Vicario, Gray, and Danso are probably all locks across the defensive, keeper and defensive line. I think Danso, I mean, he might almost be first name on the team sheet at the moment, especially with Van der Ven and Romero out. And Gray, I think, will get the start because I'm not sure Davies is fit. I'm pretty sure that's who Ali Gold was asking about in the press conference, but I couldn't quite hear. And I think he said he's been battling a knock, Ange said he's been battling a knock and been playing through. And so I think he's just kind of getting a rest up at the moment. But maybe he'll be a surprise entrance and Gray will get a rest this game. But that's my expectation, is that we'll probably see the same as the game against Ipswich. We'll see Gray and Danso in the centre-back positions. At the fullbacks, all of a sudden there's an interesting conundrum. Obviously, Porro started on the bench last game, so he's had a little bit of a rest. He's been run off his feet this season, so he needed the rest, but he might be a little bit fresher than the other two. Obviously, Destiny coming back from injury, and Spence in seemingly undroppable form. I mean, our most informed player across the park at the moment. Whether he needs a rest, though. Obviously, we've got that big European game coming up, and you want everyone as fit and firing for that game. But I think both games are important. We want to keep climbing that league table, and if we can knock off City, we do something to climb in that league table. All of a sudden, that's one that probably most people don't have us in expectation to win. And so 3 points would be huge. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes there, whether Destiny's fit enough, whether Spence needs a rest, whether he's worried about Porro's defensive fragilities against City. That worries me a little bit. He also offers a lot going forward, though, and City are there to be caught out at times because they like to push up and put pressure on, and we could get in behind. So I'm not sure how I would go. I think I really like the look of Destiny and Spence at the two fullback positions in the last game. I wouldn't be surprised if Destiny's back to the bench. Yeah, I don't know. I could see any combination of those three happening. Spence and Destiny might be my first choice, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. And in the midfield three, there's combination decisions to be made all across there. The in-form selections, you're probably looking at Bergvall, Decky, Matters, even Bentancur slowly playing himself into form. Does Bergvall need a rest? He's been playing week in, week out and really putting in some shifts. I think he doesn't look exhausted on the park, so I'd like to see Bergvall in amongst that selection. But it'd be interesting. Obviously, the rotation selections, Basuma only came on for about 5 minutes against Ipswich, and Sarr sat on the bench the whole game. So Sarr should be really fresh. But I do think you need informed players against Manchester City because they can really hurt you in that midfield area, and I think we can match it with them if we're on our game. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing Bentancur, Decky, Matters, and Bergvall potentially, and with Decky pushing out to the right as a chance. That might depend on Johnson, who I'll get to. I just don't think with Basuma and Sarr's form, they haven't quite been up for it. But I also, if one of those gets told to come in and do a job with the extra or the less minutes in their legs, hopefully they can come in and find some form and slot into a role really well. It's a bit of a conundrum to work out for Ange, and a good conundrum because you want to have a multitude of players to select from. You don't want to be just relying on the same few. I think Matters is the sort of player that could make a difference in a game like tomorrow against City. He has the ability to find those pockets of space and play those balls through that could unlock the defence. Whether Ange sees it that way or whether he sees that maybe Decky's better in that midfield area and maybe he wants some more defensive downers and we end up with Sarr, Bentancur, Decky or Sarr, Bentancur, Bergvall. Oh, sorry, Sardeki Bergvall, I should have said then. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. I'd love to see Matters get a run, and also it's good to have options coming off the bench. Whoever doesn't get the start, that doesn't mean that their role's done for the game. The game could still be there to be won by the time that they come onto the field, and by having substitutions that can come on and make a real impact, I think you can really change the game. We've seen so many teams do it. We've seen us do it. I think our performance lifted after we made substitutions against Ipswich last weekend, and I think credit to Ange for making those substitutions when he did. I think they all paid off really well. I think they were the right time to make the substitutions. I think they freshened up the team. I think our run looked better, which we've seen in games over the last few months that without those substitutions to be made, or without Ange's willingness to use some of the players that we've had on the bench in that they're so young and inexperienced, we've kind of faded out of games and haven't had the legs, and we just look out on our feet. Even if we control a bit of possession, we don't have like the energy to really push through and create dangerous situations. So onto the front three. I think Son's obviously a guaranteed start out on the left there. I would imagine that's the way to go. Hopefully he doesn't have any temptation to put him through the centre, because he's really at his most damaging out on the left, in my opinion. And was extremely damaging out on the left in the last game. So I think that's an automatic. Does he want to rest? Does he want to give Johnson 2 starts in a row? I'm not sure. He's obviously coming back from injury, and I think Ange is trying to be really cautious with who he gives starts to regularly out of these players coming back from injury. I think, as I've said previously, I think he's trying to learn from lessons previous and not re-injure players if he can help it, because we need our full squad, or as much of our full squad, fit and firing as we can, because we really want to attack the Europa League and the Premier League for the rest of the season. So if Johnson isn't ready to start 2 games in a row, I would assume that probably means we see Decky out on the right, and that might decide some of that midfield 3 that I talked about. If Johnson does start, then all of a sudden you've got either Decky or Matters probably starts in the middle. And whether he sees this as an opportunity to say, hey, Decky, I know you love playing against City. You're going to have to do it for the last 30 minutes and come on off the bench. I wouldn't hate to see that, because I feel for Decky. In saying that, though, he looked all right when he pushed up the field and scored his goal at the end of the Ipswich game. He was moving well. So maybe he's just an absolute warrior and pushes through. But we did hear him say that he felt like he was playing at 40% or something around that during this period where he's been playing so many games. So that'll be an interesting one. I do assume that Tal starts up front. I think that's how Ange seems to see it at the moment, and he's obviously the one that's come in with the big price tag and the big promise of what he could be for the future. He didn't have the greatest game against Ipswich, struggled to get on the ball. I did say I don't think that was completely his fault. I do think he's probably the sort of player that, if he's playing up front, likes to have someone like Matters behind him, because I think him and Matters can link up really well, and Matters will look for creating those little situations for him to create a yard of space inside the area or near the area for Tal. Where I think Decky sort of feeds the ball out wide a bit more and tries to attack from those wider angles, which can suit Tal as well, as we saw at the end of the Villa game. If the right ball comes into him, there's no reason Tal can't find the back of the net from a cross that comes in. So it's interesting. Could Scarlett be putting his hand up? I really like Scarlett. I really hope he does well, as I think we all do with our youth players that come through. But I think he really looks like he's got something. The way he moves, I like the way he looks out on the pitch. I think he's obviously got, in a different form of experience, but got a bit more experience of English football than what Tal does. And Tal looked a little bit bullied around against Ipswich and couldn't quite find that space. And I just wonder if Scarlett might have more hold-up ability. I would be surprised if Ange goes, hey, Scarlett, or hey, Dane, he might say, you're getting your first start in the Premier League for us, and it's going to be against City. I'd be surprised if he goes that route, but I also wouldn't hate to see it. I think they can both offer something, and obviously Scarlett getting that assist in the last game and really putting himself about in the limited minutes that he got. I don't think he done it himself any harm, and I think we'll see him scoring some goals if he gets the minutes. So I wouldn't hate to see it. But I do, as I said, I do think Tal will probably be the safe option and the most likely option, and giving Tal that more experience. I think Tal's got some goals coming as well. I think a couple of chances will come to him soon, and he obviously had a lot of chances against United. Didn't quite manage to capitalise on them, but he gets to the right places. And if you keep putting yourself in the right places and you keep taking, or at least having attempts to score, eventually you're gonna bang some in with a player of his quality. As far as how I think the match is going to go, I think it'll be a high scoring match. Both teams have got a plus 15 goal difference for the season, which is very crazy to think of when you look at City's position on the table and you look at Tottenham's position on the table, but you love to see it. Spurs are second highest scorers in the league currently. Absolutely amazing. So I think it'll be a high scoring affair because City are equal third highest scorers in the league. It does provide us with the opportunity to beat City 3 times this season, which, if we can do that, we've beaten Manchester clubs 6 times this season, which, unbelievable. I mean, that would be outstanding, regardless of how the season's gone. That on its own, it's unheard of. You wouldn't expect it. So I hope the boys come out absolutely firing, raring to go. I also think City are going to be coming out wanting to make amends for some of their patchy form. And I think they will be seeing us as an opportunity of a team that they can take on and they can beat and they can correct some of their form. So it should be a really hard, well-fought game. Hopefully we're on it a bit more in the first 5 to 10 minutes than we have been in a couple of previous games, because if we give them the chances that we gave Ipswich at the start of the game, we might actually be 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 down in the first 10 minutes. And we don't want to see that. Hopefully we can get out and we can get on the score sheet first. We can get on the score sheet second. I'd love to see it. I think there'll be goals. I can't picture this being a 0-0 game. As far as my prediction, I'm going to go 3-2 Spurs in an absolute thriller of a game. Or a heart killer if you watch games with as much anxiety as I do. But I'll be buzzing. I'll be up for it. Hopefully you guys all are too. Thanks again to everyone who's been tuning in and watching so far. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate a couple of the comments and feedback that I've gotten so far. Anyone who enjoys the content, feel free to click the subscribe button and you get to see when any of my videos come out, and that'll help me along too and help me reach a broader audience, because I love to involve everyone that I can. So that's me. I'll talk to you after the game. Come on, you Spurs!